90 to 92. The Gerry Ryan Show, Monday to Friday, 9 till 12 on 2FM.
On Tuesday, a story broke on this programme that has now gained momentum and some very positive momentum, in fact, over the last 24 hours. It's the story of Mary and her daughter. This is a West of Ireland family who were thrown into deep trauma and great frustration, I think, as a result of an absolutely horrific attack that's alleged to have been carried out on the daughter of this woman who spoke to us on Tuesday. You probably recall her telling very quietly this tale of terror of her daughter being subjected to what was, in our belief on this programme, the preamble to a rape. I mean, there is no other way to describe it. Whether that was the actual intention of those involved or not is really, to be perfectly honest, irrelevant. It's really the effect that it had on the child that's relevant. Her legs and her hands were taped. Her scarf was stuffed into her mouth. This is a young teenage girl, if I recall, about 14, I think. And she was placed on the ground. They tried to pull her pants down and pull her top up, taunt it, and eventually she had to literally burn herself out of her incarceration. Our objection, apart from the obvious one, that nobody should be submitted, man, woman or child, of whatever age, to this kind of an attack, particularly when you're in what we would have considered to be the protected environment of school. The main thing that really upset, I think, everybody was that the school in question at the time, this has subsequently changed, seemed to be of the opinion that the right to education of the boys who are alleged to have taken part in the attack was, in fact, a higher priority or consideration to the right of personal dignity or personal integrity that the girl should be reasonably able to expect. The duty of care that we believe should exist between a school board of management or authority and its pupils. These boys were suspended for 3 days. I think the entire country was in absolute shock at the fact that after such an attack they would be able to return to school. Well, subsequently, Mary has gone to the guards and there have been some developments, and she's back this morning to tell us about them. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Gerry.
Well, thank you for coming back to us. I listened this morning to the news as I was coming in, and I have to tell you I was absolutely delighted to hear of the developments. Would you like maybe just to remind our 2FM listeners of what's happened?
Right, Gerry. I'm a bit nervous today, worse than I was, I think.
I don't blame you, by the way. I can understand how now all this attention is probably, well, first of all, quite invasive, and you're probably getting very worried for the privacy of your daughter. I understand that completely.
I got a phone call last night from the principal of the school, which I'm very happy that the board of management held a meeting last night, and they've come up with that these boys is going to be suspended until the investigation is finished. You know.
Well, thank
God. That's all we want. You know, that's all I want.
Thank God for that. It's the least that you're entitled to. The least.
Yeah, I think so. You know, that's
so
all
they're
we want.
They're to be, as we suggested, as I think you wished, they are to be indefinitely suspended until such time as this investigation is properly prosecuted. Who knows what will come out of the investigation, but at least at this time, the message is strong and clear that you cannot do this and walk back in with a 3-day suspension.
No, and she can't go back to that school, you know. So.
How is she, Mary?
Oh, she's still a bit very traumatised. She had a very bad nightmare last night. She just told me about it, and I said, oh my God, you know, it is really, but she's talking to me now. You know, since we heard this last night, she's able to talk better today.
And is she seeing anybody? Has she had any counselling?
We're just waiting for a counsellor. I have to thank, could I thank somebody?
Sure, of course you can.
I'd like to thank my family doctor. You know, I don't want to mention names, but been so much help to us and give us the strength to go on here. Let her talk, you know. And the guards, there was a Ben Gerry from the very start, I'm not mentioning names, and she's been so helpful to us and hearing our story, and, you know, it's just given us strength to stay going, you know, on this. And of course all our family, and I can't thank everybody enough. Friends, phone calls. I didn't realise I had so many friends, you know. but some of them have been there and hadn't gone further about it, and I had to do this for my child at the end of the day.
The duty of care that we spoke of and that we so fervently and passionately believe should be supported and upheld in every school or place of employment or anywhere where somebody goes to work or goes to study or where they place themselves into the care of an organisation or another person. You are the person who have upheld that. You are the person who have kept that alive. And you should be very proud of yourself.
Well, hopefully, but at the whole thing, the school has been named, and I never gave any names to anybody.
No, you never said it here on this programme.
But I just want to make that... and one more thing, to ask the media to just step back now. I just want to get on with our lives here as normal. Just from today, please, leave it alone. Do you know what I mean?
It'll be hard for that to happen, but I can understand your concern.
I know. I have more children, and I just feel they're being, it is affecting them big time, I have a younger child gone to school, and I'm trying to keep him completely out of it. But it's not easy. It's not easy. He knows there's something going on.
Well, Mary, you could say to your daughter today, and even though it's small comfort to her at this stage of her recovery, things are very raw, I'm quite sure, still for her. But you can tell her that something has happened in this country as a result of her mother being brave enough to go and tell this story, that there is no school in Ireland who will be able to fob off their responsibility to take these matters seriously, because you have set the precedent now. You've set the precedent, and you should be very proud.
Hopefully somebody won't have to suffer like this again,
Absolutely.
And I really have to thank you, Gerry, and all your staff, and the way they have treated me in the last few days. It's just, I can't thank you enough.
They're a good old bunch, aren't they?
Brilliant, absolutely. Couldn't thank them enough.
Okay, Mary, you take care. You've got the rest of your life to deal with now, and you've got your family to look after. God bless you, and take care.
Bye.
Well, yeah, I think it's very important. I think it's very significant, and I think the boards of management of various different schools all over the country who do such fantastic work, who do exceptional work, and it's unsung work, and it's a very complicated environment that they operate in, because we've spoken about this kind of veil or this artificial wall that exists between the Department of Education and our schools. Whereas the Department of Education may design the curriculum, and they may set down the guidelines as to how that curriculum is presented and taught and examined. In fact, it's the Board of Management who have to deal with it all. They also have to deal with the flack and the fallout when something goes wrong. They have to do the hiring and the firing, and they have to deal with all the legal responsibilities. So I think maybe now's the time to start looking at the relationship, which dates back, in fact, to the foundation of the state. And when we had the breakup of the old British school system and the establishing of the church-supported schools as the primary source of education in this country, we're going to have to look at that very carefully now and figure out how we will maybe redefine the responsibilities of the Department of Education and indeed their role in running and invigilating how schools are organised, not just from a curriculum point of view, but also from a health and safety point of view.
2FM. Hello?
Hello.
It's Mr. Gaffier's aunt from Ireland. Yes.
Apologies, Mum. You will not believe what your nephew has done. I found him stopping the delivery to Kenco. He didn't understand they use the same high-quality Arabica beans in their instant coffee as in their roast and ground to ensure a fantastic taste. If only your nephew shared your knowledge, Mum. And your timing.
Kenco. Coffee without compromise.
TV licence, Inspector.
This is our holiday home.
Still, you need a separate licence for the TV here.
We don't have a TV. We're very outdoorsy, hill walking, canoeing, sky gliding, surfboarding.
Wow, sounds great.
Oh yeah, good to get away, you know yourself.
And if it rains?
We pretty much stay in and watch TV.
Damn.
TV licence inspectors visit 18,000 homes, holiday homes and businesses every month. We've heard all the excuses and none of them work. Now you can pay online at tvlicence.ie, at the post office, or local 1890 228 528.
Patricia, good morning to you. How are you?
How are you?
Very good. Now, your son is the young man who was taken home by security guards at the request of, the station master at Malahide Dart Station. He was in such fear, not only for his own personal safety, but for your son's personal safety, that he asked for security to be called for your son to be taken home to you. He was terrified that your son was going to be thrown onto the tracks, killed or possibly mutilated and maimed for life as a result of the congregation of between 40 and 50 young thugs who had organised a get-together to attack your son or anybody else who got in their way. This was another occasion when we felt that the duty of care of those who run our rail system or who allow the public congregation of young people or old people or anybody for that matter had been completely abrogated once again. I mean, only for the action of that right-thinking and courageous and brave station master who could have come under siege for what he did, your son could have, well, God only knows what could have happened to him.
Yeah, that's right. He rang the guards, he told me, but it rang out, nobody answered. And
oh my God.
Every time you talk about it, hearing it from somebody else, it's like it's in black and white in front of me.
How is your son, by the way? How's he dealing with this?
He's very annoyed and he doesn't feel safe. He's always looking over his shoulder. It has taken its toll, the long haul of all this bullying here. Where he goes, he is studying. He's going to Guyans because he wants to do good. He doesn't want to let it get. I mean, he came home one day and he just told me he wished he was dead. That was after he was sent home by pupils, told to go home, or you'd be better off committing suicide, you'd be out of all our way type of thing,
Now, you had a meeting with the principal.
I did, yeah.
Over the ringleader who's actually on a mobile phone video attacking your son. And this fella has been bullying your son for some time.
Two of them, yeah. He's a real jack the lad.
Now, you went to the principal about this before of your son's school.
Yeah, I went to, but it was a different bully. I went to about this particular guy, the year head, who was bullying my younger son.
Yeah.
So much so I have him at an orthodontist. He made his life miserable.
He beat him up, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. In this school, the primary, before they went, he strangled him and tried to push him out under a bus.
Jeez. Now, would I be correct in saying that you told me that your son was attacked by the same fella, and at the time the principal of the school said that it wasn't in your son's interest to punish that boy?
No, that was another incident where he had a bone broken in his hand. Oh. And he got off scot-free. It was been...
And did you get the principal to explain what the principal meant by that?
Well, he said they were friendly. He seen him talking. Now, this guy who did it, his mother was a friend of mine, and I thought highly of till this incident happened.
And did you speak to her about this?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, since that, she stopped the car and said to her son, when my son has spoken to him, because my lad will talk to anybody, just for a friend. He's real friendly, and he'd give you his last euro. That's the type he is. I've had him at counsellors as well, and the mother stopped the car when he was with the guys and said, "What are you doing hanging around with him?" in front of my son to all the rest of them. That's what she did. So, and she's, middle class, trying to be,
Well, what's happened now? I presume that even though the station master wasn't able to get through to the guards, bearing in mind, folks, think of this. This was between 40 and 50 fellas who were hell-bent on giving a hiding and a punishment beating, basically, to this young man. 40 or 50. The odds are impossible. He could not have dealt with this. He would either have ended up dead or mutilated, only for the action of the station master who got his security people to take the boy home to you. What has happened since then?
Well, his two of his friends stepped in and tried to, help him too. They all had their video cameras out recording, thought it was great and screaming, "Fight, fight, fight." When I went to the principal, this was 5 weeks ago, bearing in mind, the principal said he's dealing with it. He's taking it serious, but I had to ask what was happening. He said he didn't like discussing other pupils, and I said, but what's happening?
What does he mean he doesn't like discussing other pupils?
Well,
Your son was at the centre of this attack. He was the object of their anger and their vicious thuggery.
But they're trying to blame, the thugs blamed their story and said that my son said something that morning, and then it turns out, no, he didn't say something, he pushed somebody, and then it turns out it was my son's friends who pushed him. You know, the usual crap. And it seems to be, I think your son is bringing it on himself. I mean...
Your son is bringing 40 to 50 fellas pre-arranging
bullying
a hiding at a dart station organised by mobile phone. Your son is bringing that on himself. No matter what your son did, that was a ludicrous thing to suggest.
Yeah, he horseplays. He's no angel. He's like every other lad, likes a bit of fun. But it seems to be when I go at any time that it's turned on my son. Well, your son did.
Well, you see, that's a very easy way of dealing with you, and that's a very easy way of compromising you by saying, well, of course, they're all like this in their own way, and they all, they're all capable of doing bad things. And you know what? Yes, we all are capable. I mean, I was an absolute terror when I was younger.
Isn't that how you learn, Gerry? Isn't that how you learn to behave yourself? You go in.
But it's not an answer.
No, it's not.
To what happened to your son.
Well, I just got told, there's a detention being given out. That's all I got told. And that they're dealing with this still.
But what are they doing, though? This sounds like they're doing nothing.
Didn't tell me. Do you know what? I think my son is in the way there.
Can I just tell you something? If they were really doing something, that they were proud of what they were doing and that they were confident that it was the appropriate and the right thing to do, they'd be telling you. They'd be giving you chapter and verse, so that you would walk away and the next person that you talk to or the next radio programme you rang up, you'd be saying, do you know what, that school is fantastic. They came on and they told me this is what they're doing and this can never happen again to another pupil, and that the child's safety is paramount in their world, and blah, blah, blah. And none of that. You weren't told any of that. You know why you weren't told that? Because they're doing nothing.
Yeah, well,
that's why.
It wouldn't be the first time, Gerry. So,
are the guards doing anything?
Well, the guard said he would be initially, that he'd be dealt with under the juvie system. Now, I haven't spoken to them yet. Cause
the JLO system? Well, that's a very good system and it works extremely well.
Yeah, but this guy, I don't know how long before it happens again.
And I think that this, what these boys did, it would be appropriate if you could identify the most serious culprits. Diversion is a good idea. It is a good idea to keep that age group out of the criminal courts. And the juvenile liaison officers are really, they're really superb. When they're given the correct backing of the community, of schools and parents, they're superb. They do a great job. I've said it before, it's not for every child. There's some children who are so vicious and so dysfunctional that they need much more serious intervention. But the JLO system is good, and if that's what the guards are applying there, and if it's followed through properly, I would be quite happy about that.
Yeah, well, I haven't discussed it with my son what happened, and I haven't told him that I rang yourself, and I haven't told.
Would he be upset? Would he, Patricia?
Yeah, he didn't even want me to deal with it because he'd be attacked. I mean, when I went to the school the next day, the principal was shocked to hear this, right? Yeah. But I could hear them taunting, oh, look, here she is, and, there's such and such's mother, and, trying to say, you could hear it. You'd want to be stupid to not know what they're talking about. So my son is, oh, please, I'll get more. He doesn't go out anymore, Gerry, unless I give him a lift down the road or back, because there's, he just told me the other day I got out of him, there's another gang after him. So, but to say that, the way he handled situation, it's like it's twisted to make out he was the problem. I mean, you don't go around saying, beat me up, here I am.
Well, it's impossible to imagine that he, desired to 40 or 50 fellas attacking him.
No, it was prearranged, and I just feel the blame is being put back on my son for starting it. And I've asked his friend, it didn't, because you're not going to ask. Who's going to ask for that to happen to you? His bag thrown out. The station master had to climb into a bush to get his belongings, his bag, and that they threw in to humiliate him. All his books ripped, and there's no mention of we replace his uniform, or or how are you feeling to my son? This is a terrible thing. It's just. He's just left.
Now, the main culprit, the guy that you identify as the main culprit, what approach has been taken, do you know, towards him?
They didn't tell me. They just told me the suspensions were being issued. Oh, yeah, and then my other son was brought into question as well, because the next day this young fella threatened my younger boy and said, you watch yourself there, sonny boy, something to the same effect will happen to you. And my son got in trouble for saying, well, my mum's
going to deal with you. My mum's going to ring and get you into trouble for saying this. And that got thrown into my face yesterday now.
But what's wrong with him saying that?
Well, I got told in a very firm voice, did he have to say that?
Yes, he did have to say that.
Well,
and I'll tell you why he had to say that. He had to say that because the flippin' school wasn't saying it. That's why.
Well,
that's outrageous.
Well, I've told your researchers, the girls, my son's history. I mean, they're shocked. I suppose for us, when we heard that a suspension was going to occur, it was, I guess, something in light of what happened.
Are you beginning to think that just the school would in fact be happy? And this is, we've mentioned this before.
I think they'd love me to take him out.
Just take your son out. The number of times that we've heard stories where the school starts off with, we have a very sophisticated program to do with bullying, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly you find, in fact, we're sorry to say goodbye to you and your son. Good luck. And the 20 or 30 gougers or thugs who've been carrying out the bullying, they remain in the school to avail of all the facilities and to continue their education.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that's the way. I think he's a nuisance and he's in the way. And,
he's causing hassle.
But the thing is, the other school, they're still on the same route and the same gougers will be there. So I won't be taking it. And he doesn't want to leave because he has some friends and some of his teachers he loves. And, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. What can I do?
Would you consider taking him out? I know it's a capitulation and really it's something I shouldn't even be suggesting to you, but sometimes...
I know, but as I said, he'd still be travelling with the same gougers. There's no break from it in the two good schools as I considered. So what do you do? And why should he have to leave?
No, I'm sorry, you're talking to the converted here. I don't believe he should have to leave. I'm just saying it seems to me... Now, for instance...
Because I think it's only a matter of
There
time.
are some schools who have a very, very proactive way of dealing with disruption in the school or violence. One of them is just up the road from me here, St. Michael's. My son goes to that, as do many of our family. And they're very proactive. Any messing is dealt with, stamped out, and it percolates throughout the entire system. They're very efficient at dealing with it. And it means that the natural hijinks that young boys and young men get up to are dealt with and allowed and probably to a degree celebrated. But when it turns nasty or when it's inappropriate behaviour, damage of school property or abusing another pupil or becoming just a general nuisance and a handicap to the school, they will stamp that out. And they don't let it develop. Now, that's the way that you have to deal with these issues. The minute it starts happening, you stamp on it. Otherwise, you have no authority. And the kind of thing, what you're hearing is somebody speaking from a position of no authority. Oh, well, did he have to say that? I mean, somebody who's moved to say, did he have to say he'd tell his mother and that his mother would get the fella into trouble? There's nothing wrong with your son saying that. And for a person in a position of alleged authority to say that means that they have no authority. They're not cutting the mustard. They're not doing it.
Well, isn't it better than him throwing a punch and getting...
Of course it is.
And the thing is, if my son steps out of line, right, Gerry, you want to see the way they come down. They make like an exhibition out of him. I swear to God, they don't... He has gotten a bit of leniency, but I feel if he does anything, it's taken and dealt with. And then when anything happens to him, it's giving out the wrong message, Gerry. So I'm like saying, okay, so if my son goes and breaks somebody's hand, are you going to, throw him out of the school and make an exhibition of him when the other guy got away with it? Or, if my other son is thrown under a train, do you know what I'm trying to say? I just feel a stronger hand is taken when my lad steps out of line. And I don't agree with him being messing, carrying on, breaking school rules. I don't tolerate that. If his phone gets taken off for him, tough. That's the way it should be dealt with.
You're right.
That's the way we are. You're not teaching your son or your child anything by, backing them up. But I just feel he's a nuisance at this stage, and we just feel, my husband and myself felt that it was like, Barry brought it on himself.
And is he a pleasant boy? Is he?
Well, here he goes to certain clubs and scouts, and he does very well. People speak very highly of him. It's just when he goes to school, he's seen in a totally different light. And I think he has the right to an education without looking over his shoulder all the time, you know.
Well, he does, and that's guaranteed to him by the Constitution.
Now, he is frustrated and annoyed at times, and I brought him to see somebody at council, and they said this is a perfectly normal child, and you know, too right he's going to get frustrated. If you kept getting picked on by higher authority and given dirty looks, you know, you're going to lash out, you know, because there's ways of bullying people without being physical. It can be looks and intimidation. You know, he just feels that he has to look over his shoulder all the time. And yeah, if you met him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He would give you his last euro. He'd go out of his way. He goes to work with his dad. He can't wait to get a job and a car and all that. And he loves a laugh. And he helps me out a lot.
And you love him.
Yeah.
Well,
but he's no angel, Gerry.
No, I wouldn't expect him to be an angel. My two boys are no angels now, but they're good lads.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with this thought, and it's the wrong thing to be saying it to you, but I say it as a parent with some experience of this issue. If it is possible to take him away from this scenario, that's what I would do. This is a bit like fighting City Hall in a way. You know, you don't sound like you've any support. When the pupils have got their own agenda, or those pupils who've decided to take it upon themselves to carry out this activity, bearing in mind, keep going back to this, is 40 or 50 fellas congregating at a dart station to attack him. I mean, it's phenomenal. But the school authorities don't sound like they have the will or the ability to deal with the situation. And that means that, number one, he's not safe, but number two, you're not going to be able to change them. You're not going to be able to appeal to them. It's not like the case of Mary and her daughter, where you had a board of management who had the courage to go back on their original decision and say, well, look, what we're going to do here is we're going to indefinitely suspend these guys. That shows that's fortitude. And they're laying down a marker now for the future in their school. It sounds like it's gone too far in your son's school.
But can it not be, shouldn't he be suspended indefinitely as well? Because it was so serious, like, you know.
Yes, I agree with you.
I'm sure the day he gets off, Gerry's going to go to the cinema, or he won't be crying anyway.
I agree with you entirely, but the problem here is that you're not getting a positive response from them. They don't even seem to be worried about it. And I mean, they should be. I would have maybe one last chat with them. I mean, they do understand what happened in the dart station, don't they?
They said it was very serious.
It could have been a death.
Yeah, I know.
Or mutilation.
Well, this is why I think this should be taken with a firm
hand.
And
then, you know, can you imagine what it would have been like then?
Oh, well, they'll probably take that before they do anything. I think the school principals should be given more of an authority.
Well, no, all right, I'll withdraw the sort of capitulation advice I gave you. Go back to the school and ask them in writing to advise you what they're doing in detail. Will you do that?
Okay.
Okay, and come back to me.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Right.
This is the Gerry Ryan Show on 2FM. Call 08457 585 285 from Northern Ireland.
A host of Ireland's finest singers and musicians have gotten together to produce a tribute to Ronnie Drew, a founding member of the Dubliners and one of the finest and one of the great voices of modern Irish music. Last night, U2, Andrea Corr, the Dubliners, Sinead O'Connor, Shane MacGowan and Keela performed the specially composed Ballad of Ronnie Drew, it was last Friday, not last night, on the Late Late Show, with Ronnie present as guest of honour. This morning, Andrea Corr is on the line to tell us more about the song. I think she's got some news about the release dates and indeed its availability as a digital download. Andrea Corr, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm a bit. I don't really know how to follow the last programme. I've got a bit of the fear after your last discussion.
Well, do you have feelings on the protocols? I mean, how do you feel about men adjusting?
I don't have feelings, but I think, do it in private.
Do it in private?
Do it in private, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, say that you... I mean, you know, I don't know whether you ask a gentleman, I mean, I don't know whether you've ever inquired whether, you know, a man in your life... Or,
the genital man.
Or a brother possibly even dresses to the left or to the right. But if you dress incorrectly, you may need to fix yourself. And I'm just wondering, you say into the bathroom with you?
Yes, I do.
All right, well, there you have it, it's official. No need to go any further on this discussion. Thank you very much, Andrea Corr.
Oh, please. I shouldn't have brought it up. I just had to listen.
You shouldn't have brought it up. Boom, boom.
Oh, stop it. Okay.
Do you want to start again? Do you?
Yes, please. Okay, I meant the Prince bit. I'm very excited about Prince.
Oh, that's very exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
That's all I meant to talk about.
Yes, I know that. Yeah. Have you ever met him?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be afeard.
Well, I believe he's calmed down a bit in the girls' department, so you're probably safe now. But
I just think he's amazing. Like he was my favourite. So.
Well, first of all, he's kind of like a mixture between one of the great pop songwriters and Jimi Hendrix, because he's got all the stuff all crammed in. Anyway, enough of that for the moment. Now, I don't know how this song came about, but it's a bloody good idea, and no matter whether you like it or loathe it, it's impossible not to hum the chorus. It is maybe one of the most irresistible choruses I have ever heard. Ronnie Drew, as we all know, because I interviewed him for Ryan Confidential some time back, and I was terribly concerned and worried about the man after the interview, because he was very, very, very courageous and forthright, even sang a song, but boys oh boys, was he weary. But he's still with us. Thank God for that. We should be very grateful. In the meantime, a group of people, including yourself, decided it would be nice to pay homage to him. And that's exactly, I suppose, what you've done, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just really happy that they rang me to be involved in it, because it was just a great experience doing it. And I think their idea initially was to let's write a song for Ronnie Drew. He's one of our great singers. He's the ultimate male voice, and and he's struggling and he's having a hard time, and actually initially it was that he would sing a song, but then anyway it transpired somehow that it was actually for all of us to pay tribute to him and sing a song for him. And Simon Carmody rang me up about it, and I went,
good old Simon.
Of course I'll do it. Yeah.
One of the great organisers. And of course, a man of no small musical talent himself. He's a good songwriter, as our Simon, and a good voice too. Now, the band of Bowsies and the chorus, by Jiminy, every single person you care to mention is in there.
Yeah, it was one of the most amazing couple of days in the studio in Ireland. I mean, everybody, Simon just decided he's going to make one call, and he wasn't even going to explain that much. And if people, showed up, they showed up, and everybody showed up. And it was such a testament to Ronnie Drew, because everybody just went, yeah, for sure, I'm in, I'll do it, And it was pretty packed in there, and we had a fantastic couple of days. It was really, really good.
Well, we know now that you two are all there. There's Bono, Adam, Larry and the Edge. The Dubliners are there, represented by Barney McKenna, Eamon Campbell, John Sheehan and Patsy Watchhorn. Keela are in there as well. We have Christy Moore, Shane McGowan, Damien Dempsey, yourself, Sinead O'Connor, Moya Brennan, Glenn Hansard. We have an Oscar winner, actually, when you think about it now and there. Billy
Absolutely.
McGuinness, Brian Kennedy. Actually, what?
I just said absolutely.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to tell me, actually, Gerry, he didn't turn up. No, he did. Billy McGuinness, Brian Kennedy, Brona Gallagher, I love Brona Gallagher, Chris de Burgh, Christy Dignam, Duke Special, Eleanor McAvoy, Eleanor Shanley, Gavin Friday, Iona Green, Jack L., one of my favourite voices, Jerry Fish, Joe Elliott, Mary Black, Mary Coughlin, Meek Pyro, Mundy, Paddy Casey, Paul Brady and Ronan Keating, all there in the one room. That's a lot of ego in the one room, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you would think so, but actually, surprisingly, it really was, and it was really, really great fun. I mean, everybody just sang in a chorus and got in there together and was pretty much up for anything. I mean, Simon did an amazing job, first of all, in actually making this happen. Yeah. You would think that would be a nightmare, but it actually really worked. It really wasn't, and everybody just really went into it with an open spirit and did whatever they needed to do, and kind of left ego behind, to be honest, which is good.
He's Ronnie Drew himself, as I said, having interviewed him recently. What an amazing man. And when I finished talking to him, I said, "Is there anything you worry about? At this stage of your life, in the in the final trimester of your life?" Mm-hmm. And he said, his wife had just died only a few short weeks before this conversation. He said, "I worry about the wife." He said, was I good enough to her? Was I nice enough to her? I was awful trouble, I was. And he tears in his eyes as he was saying it. And it was, this was I would say not the easiest man in the world. I said none of them were the easiest men in the world because they ploughed their own furrows and there was very little diverting them from what they wanted to do and the way they did it. But this was a gentle man and the love of his life was gone, and you could just see that this was the thing that exercised him more than anything else.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, how raw could you be? I mean, I don't really know what to say about that, but I think that, he was very brave about it all, but he obviously did lose the love of his life, and they were together for such an amount of years. It doesn't really bear thinking about. So, I mean, I can't really comment. I don't really know. It's awful.
All right, I'm going to play the record or the piece because we don't call them records anymore. Sure, we don't.
I do.
You do. So do I. Then, well, that's all right. There's two of us in it. Just remind everybody. Tomorrow the CD goes on release, and it's also available as a digital download.
Yeah.
Do we know where you go to get that? I wonder.
Well, you know what? When you said I'll be there with the details, I'm actually doing because I don't really have the details. That's right.
Right,
that's
you're right.
Gerry.
Okay, Gerry, you just say it.
That's it. No, I don't really know, but yeah, it's everything must be available tomorrow. And I don't know how everybody usually downloads songs.
Well, I presume,
and it goes to cancer. It goes for cancer research, and I presume it's pretty straightforward.
Well, I presume it's off to iTunes. I presume that's where you get it. Is it? Can we find out where you get the digital download
I'd say
from?
it's definitely iTunes.
Yeah, okay. Definitely, maybe.
Definitely iTunes.
Definitely iTunes. All right, listen, Andre, it's been good talking to you. Mind yourself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Gerry.
Not at all. It's been my
Bye.
pleasure. Good morning.
Bye-bye. Good morning.